everybody, and welcome to Forte. I'm going to introduce this as the beauty edition because I've got the extremely glamorous Dalal Mansour with me. Hello.
Hello. I do feel quite glammed up for the event, but yeah, why not?
I am so glad. And if I copy your look, if you soon see me on Instagram with like long wavy hair and your lips, then I'll be honest, you were my inspiration.
That's it. Love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dalal. I'll briefly explain what I know of you and then get into a little bit more about you and some beauty tips, please.
Yes.
So Dalal is a beauty artist and beauty expert who worked with MAC Cosmetics for 16 years before setting up on her own pretty bravely, but in 2016, I believe, and has had an amazing, really interesting career since. So I discovered Dalal because I am a loyalist to Adore Beauty, which is a really popular makeup business, internet business in Australia. And Dalal regularly contributes on there, doing product reviews and some really great tips on how to get the best dewy skin, which is why I kind of clicked that you'd be so relevant, because it was for I don't even want to call us the more mature lady, but it's for dewy skin for 30s to 40s. And I was like, hello, I'm just going to slide into her DMs.
Yeah. And you did, and he did.
And I did, and it worked. So, watch out, everybody. More recently, recently as well, Dalal has also been the makeup artist for the US edition of Come Dance With Me, which was filmed in Melbourne. So I think that's just a really interesting thing to look at as well and talk about, because they're such extreme, fantastic theatrical looks that it's been really interesting to see your work going from all of these everyday looks to bolder looks to the very other end of the spectrum, which is really theatrical. So I feel as though I'm living my teenage girl dream and my current dream talking to a beauty expert like you. So
thank you.
Thanks for joining. I guess I'm going to start with, is it true that when you're 40, you should be really conscious about wearing shimmery makeup? And do you really believe in these old wives' tales? Are there some kind of top tips that you can give?
And I feel like that is one of the most commonly asked or worried about kind of concern with mature 40 plus, whatever category we want to be in and be named. I just put it down. You think hydration, like you want your skin to look hydrated. So it can be glowy, it can be dewy. I'm not thinking like chunks of glitter on your skin, but something with a dewy finish that's light reflecting. That's more the angle you want to go. So you can still highlight your skin on certain parts, but thinking more creamy products to do that, as opposed to powdery shimmers. So you can get like beautiful creamy liquid highlights. There's some beautiful foundations out there that do have more of a luminous finish to it. So again, it's about hydration and making the skin look more plump in that manner.
Interesting. So tip number one. I'm literally thinking, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What's next? Interesting, because hydration, is that big? Does our skin get drier as we get older?
Yes. So you lose you lose collagen in your skin, so the elasticity goes, and then that's where people might see more fine lines. So hydration helps to sort of replump the skin. It helps to enhance the collagen again. Even like just a good facial massage when you're doing your night cream or night oils onto your skin, you'll just see it just helps to plump and rejuvenate the skin that way. So yeah, you really want to hydrate the skin.
Okay, amazing. That's not, I think I've stuck personally into my old regime. I don't know if you see that a lot, where I can sometimes go down the caking the foundation on. Do we need to evolve our makeup habits?
Yeah. And I always think, your skin, your foundation will only look as good as the skin is under it. So if you are not investing in that skin prep or hydration or good skincare, but you're like, I've got this amazing like $90 foundation, it might not look like that amazing $90 foundation if you're putting it on skin that isn't well prepped or skin that isn't looked after. So I always just think the foundation will look as good as the skin is under it. So skincare is like number one, I feel, for older or for everyone really. to make that foundation look, the best that it can.
Okay, that's really important then. And have you got a favorite routine and a favorite brand?
I have so many. But okay, so foundation wise, I like quite a light coverage or a tint. And then I just add more coverage with concealer instead of doing heavy all over, which can then look really cakey. So foundation and then concealer. And then if you do powder and then cheat, like that's where it starts looking a lot. So I just do like a tinted moisturizer or a tinted foundation, and then just add more coverage. I use like a liquid or cream bronzer just to enhance. So some favorites would be like It Cosmetics do a good, it's called, it's their CC cream, Your Skin But Better. And they do a matte version, a satin, and like a luminous one. They're all beautiful. Giorgio Armani Silk is really beautiful, a bit more high end, but still beautiful nonetheless. MAC do Face and Body or Studio Radiance Face and Body, beautiful as well. So I think I'm more building up that coverage, like adding sheer layers on good skincare as opposed to just like going in and covering it all.
Yeah, okay. And is that quite common between people that you see, that they stick to maybe a color scheme as well on top of that foundation?
The color schemes, yes. Yeah. It is, and I think makeup, there's so many trends in it, like fashion, like hair, and there's a pocket of people that watch TikTok, I guess, or YouTube, and it's that kind of style. And then there's people that are looking at what's in magazines, which is super, super sheer, and they worked more towards that style. So there's so many trends within it. So there's not really necessarily a right and wrong, but there are definitely options. And again, I think like with more mature skin where people don't want to look cakey but want to look healthy and glowy, that's more about layering those sheer textures to create that look.
Okay, layering sheer textures. And is that more around eyes or lips? Is it true that you can't, again, this is another old wives' tale, I think, that you can't have eyes and lips together? Is that your view?
No, I think you can. It depends on things. It depends on where are you going? Like, are you going to the supermarket? Are you going to the Oscars? Like, if you look at Oscar red carpet looks, they are rocking a smoky eye and a red lip, or like full set of lashes, liner, and a bold lip. If they're, if you're going to Coles or Woolies, like maybe then it's a bit too much. Or, maybe in your daily office work, like it depends. And then I just think makeup is there for people to express how they feel. So who really cares if you've got a full glam face, picking out your groceries? Like, if that's what makes you feel comfortable and happy and you're confident in wearing it, then go for it.
That's such a good point, isn't it? Because on a Saturday morning, I can go from going to the gym to just going to get some groceries with no makeup on and just think, hopefully I don't see anybody. And then other times I'll go to the supermarket or to the high street and I'll feel like wearing wearing some clothes which are half decent just to feel a bit feminine.
Yeah.
It's part of just how you want to feel that day. And if you're in a bit of a mood, the walks, especially during COVID, that was quite funny because actually I thought this is my only outing. I am actually going to put some really sexy, or maybe not slightly sexy, some active wear and some makeup on. So I suppose it's quite mood. Mood influences it and vice versa.
Absolutely. And some days, I don't really want to wear makeup, and then other days, like we were sort of talking earlier, I was like, I put a bold lip on and I'm like, I could go to Woolies now, I don't care, that's just how I want to be today. So that's another part of what I love about makeup, is that it can transport you to different feelings, and you can pick and choose when you want to wear it, and you wipe it off if you don't want it. Easy.
I think that's a really good point. Do you think that there's enough confidence with women about makeup, about wearing makeup?
I feel like it's kind of split. There's like the group that are like, I love it, I'm going to wear it like this, I don't care. And then there's like a different pocket of people that are like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable in it, but they haven't tried it. So it's like I was saying, like you can just wipe it off. That's the best part about makeup. It's not like you've dyed your hair and now you need to, you know, bleach it back, or you've chopped it and now you're, you know, getting extensions. That's one of the things I love about makeup, that transformation. And then if it just doesn't work out for you, a Neutrogena face wipe and just start again, go to bed, go out, and you're like, you know, you can just do whatever you want. So you just got to try it. Like I've got a lot of clients that are like, I don't wear a bold lip, but God, it looks good on you. I'm like, let's just try it. Like you just got to try it. And if you love it, you love it. If you don't, ease into it or don't wear it at all.
I'm wondering if 9 times out of 10 people say, no, I actually feel better after wearing it once you've persuaded them. Is that the case?
I feel like they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll be those people that are like, oh, I could never. And then I'll, you know, meet up with them or see them around, or, you know, do their makeup again like 6 months later. And they're like, oh, I've still got that red and I love it. And I always get comments on it. And as soon as they go, I get comments on it, then you know.
Yeah.
But like, think of anything you wear or something you've done and you've got a comment on. You're like, yeah, I mean, I totally love this. Like, you know, I'm going to wear it all the time. And that's the thing with like a good lipstick or a beautiful makeup.
I wonder if that's linked to being seen a little bit, as well as, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, you look in the mirror and sometimes think, I think I look pretty good here, but let's just see. And when you go out and people comment on it, you think, oh, I wasn't just going crazy dressing up in my room. It's that kind of validation and reassurance that you look great. Yeah. And why not? If you can stand up a bit taller, hold your head high, feel that wave of confidence, like you say, I think that's only a really good thing to actually prompt people to do.
Exactly. And you just got to try it. Like I used to not wear bold lipstick years ago. And now I just know if I'm going out, I'm like, I'm just going to wear bold lipstick because that is the look without me putting too much effort into it. You know what I mean? You can do mascara, a bit of foundation, bronzer, and then put a bold lip on and you're like, I'm dressed.
I've forgotten to get dressed.
Yeah. I'm still an active wear, but whatever, I feel good.
So that's some really great snippets so far that I'm going to put really boldly. You can always just wipe it off and a bold lip. You don't have to get dressed almost.
Too dressed up,
Yeah. And I'm really keen about you. How did you originally get into makeup?
Okay, so I finished high school and I went straight into uni, and I went to the Victorian College of the Arts, and I got a bachelor's degree in photography, or in a bachelor's degree in fine art, majoring in photography. And while I was doing my like photography assignments, I was always obsessed with fashion photography. Like I just love those like 90s like Guess jeans ads. Do you remember those black and white ones with Drew Barrymore and that other lady, and I can't remember her name, Anna Nicole Smith, like those beautiful like black and white photos. So I love that, and I was trying to recreate those kind of looks, and I just got into doing makeup on the shoots I was working on. And then I finished my degree, and much to my parents' horror, I was like, no, I'm going to be a makeup artist. And they were like, that's not a job. And this was like the late 1990s. Yeah. So it was around 1999, around the year 2000. So it was like, that's not a job. Like, what have you been at uni doing? And now you want to paint faces, like whatever. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And I went to the MAC counter. Back then, there was only 2 MAC counters in Melbourne. And I went to one of them and I just applied for a job. And they were like, yeah, you know, you look cool, like da-da-da. And I worked at MAC. I ended up being there for 16 years. And the last 6 to 8 years, I was like a trainer and then a regional training manager. And it was just the best time and the best experience. And on the side of doing that, 5 days a week, I then freelance because I had a lot of clients in the stores that were like, oh, can you come to my house, or can you do my wedding? And I was like, oh, this is cool, like another little avenue to take. And then it just went from there.
So you really loved it from day one. But I mean, you don't find people that knew what they wanted to do or got to, when you do go to your parents sometimes and think, no, I've got to go and do it, especially if they're paying your rent for a little bit. But from that day, did you just find the thing that you loved, and do you love it just as much now as you did then?
I think I love it more because I've done so many things with it. Like when you're starting out, it's like you dip your toe in and you're like, I'm just going to do weddings. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to do fashion week, or you get invited to do fashion week. You're like, oh yeah, like this is what I want to do. And then from there, you just, put your foot into try different things. And then I was like, that's another thing I love about this kind of work. There are so many avenues you can go down, and you don't have to love all of them, and you don't have to do all of them, but you can try all of them and then make your decision from there.
Yeah. Wow. A fashion week sounds very glamorous.
Yes.
Was it?
But is it? No.
Come on, I'm ready with the gossip.
Notes, here we go. So I've worked on fashion. I've done Melbourne Fashion Week, Sydney Fashion Week, New Zealand Fashion Week, London Fashion Week. So I've done, a pretty good handful around the world. And it's not catty. Sorry, everyone. It's people are just there getting the job done. It's super hectic. It's super fast. You're in and out. You're backstage getting stepped on by models as you put concealer on their banged up toes. Like, it's not that glamorous.
Wow.
Didn't know that it's happened. A rush. Yeah.
So would you create looks for models as they were going down the catwalk?
So some of the looks, so pretty much with Fashion Week, you'll have a key director or makeup director. So if you're on their team, you recreate the look they've designed. I have been the key makeup director in New Zealand, Melbourne, and Sydney. So yeah, I have designed looks for particular designers and shows, here in Australia and in New Zealand as well.
And that sounds incredibly impressive. I'm imagining you with a headset on, and I'm pretty sure I'm now going to look in a fashion magazine and see you.
Yeah.
What were the good bits and what were the bad bits of it?
The good bits is seeing your work or your creation and collaboration. So if you're the director of makeup, you will collaborate with the designer on, okay, tell me about the story of this collection, like what's the vibe, what's your inspiration. You then collaborate with hair, and then you create the look together. So when you see your collaboration or your work coming down that runway, you're just like, oh.
Wow, nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. And then it's all over. Like there's all this, like there's a super long call time, you're backstage for hours, and then they're like, okay, cool, wrap it up, next show. And you're like, okay, that was my moment, thanks.
You want to go out on the catwalk and
well,
surely do
like
about.
You do, but then people will be like, no. But yeah, it's definitely a rush. It all happens very quickly, but it's super exciting as well.
It sounds amazing. When you were talking about training for MAC as well, I was imagining that it required a set of skills that were probably quite different to one-on-one makeup artistry. Yeah. How did you get into training? And again, what was that a natural thing? Was that something that you really wanted to happen?
Yeah, I feel like it was a really good progression because I loved makeup and I would be teaching customers in store. And then the opportunity came up to be one of the resident trainers here in Melbourne. And yeah, I applied for it. And MAC provided me with so many amazing like coaching and development and teaching skills, which I'll always be grateful for because they just, set us up for success, once we're in those roles. And we used to do like global train the trainers around the world. So we'd go to the US or, different parts of the world, and it would be like these massive MAC conferences, like glamour beyond, what you could imagine. There'd be 300-400, MAC people all in one conference room looking, not natural. And it was just such a rush again, because you're with all these people that share that same passion. So I think teaching came naturally because I love makeup. I love to make people feel good. I want to educate people on how they can do that for themselves. And, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be quick and easy skincare or foundation, or just teaching them how to fill in their brows. And they're like, oh my God, you've changed my life. So that's another part of why I love what I do. because it could be the smallest change, something that I maybe take for granted, a skill that I just do. And people are like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think that's a lot of the time when people are looking in the mirror, they're looking at things that they don't like.
Yes. True.
Isn't it? So I suppose that if you then not only make them look really good, but actually make them look in the mirror and not get annoyed by that thing that they don't like, you've taken away a problem. You've not just helped them look a lot better, but it's taken away something that they maybe criticize themselves for, do you think?
Yeah, and for them to do it themselves so they can wake up, look at like the balding brow and then be like, hang on, I can fix it. And then they leave that day just going, oh, my brows are amazing. Then, you know, let's just help people feel good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Again, that's going to be another banner, I think, that we should tattoo somewhere, just make people feel good. Yeah. I'm interested in your view of surgery or Botox and that kind of thing. It's obviously becoming so much more commonplace. And when I first moved to Australia, I thought, great, it's cheaper here. And I won't reveal whether I dabbled or not. Obviously I did. But it's again, both a good thing and a bad thing, because in one way, it's a solution to something. And, you know, to be honest, the first time you get Botox, you can think, oh, wow, it's gone, that thing. Rather than thinking I look fantastic, it's more that line has gone. That's great.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But then at the same time, it can very easily become something else. What's your view?
That's what I feel like, that's where my view lies, and it can go from I feel great, but then it can then journey onto this obsession, which is probably what I worry about. So I don't, you know, if people want to do it, that's fine, whatever makes you feel good. But I would just be like, but when is it enough? And can people then see when is it enough? So I haven't had anything done yet. I don't know if I will. Yeah, I don't know. I might get some under eye filler, actually. I lie. I really want under eye filler. There's only so much makeup can do under here. But, you know, if it makes people feel good, then why not? Who am I to judge, you know?
Well, I suppose that it's interesting talking to a makeup artist, because I'm now thinking, actually, if many of us were more confident with our makeup, that can transform the way that we look, that removes the bald eyebrows, because obviously we're all going to get microbladed. And if it can, you know, help cover up that bit of sun damage that we've got on our skin, or if there's something that you can do with a lip liner that plumps up the lip, perhaps perhaps some of these things are a shortcut, when actually there are solutions that are available if they're a bit more confident, to your point around training people to make themselves solve a problem and look a lot better.
Yeah. And it could be like, the lip thing. You know, I've seen a lot of done lips, and I'm like, you know, that could just be an overdraw, but maybe people want something more permanent. You can always educate them, hey?
You just don't know. I'm personally really interested in lips, and it would be amazing if I could get some, well, we could maybe do an article together around lips, because I mean, looking at your lips here, they are stunning. What lipstick is that?
Oh my God, I can't go past Ruby.
You got it there?
Right here. I have it here because I was like, if you ask, I am ready. Ruby Woo by MAC. I feel like it is the best red out there. It's neutral, so it's not warm undertone, or it's not too cool undertone, so it will literally suit every skin tone. It will make your teeth whiter, your eyes brighter. What more could you ask for in a lipstick? It's kind of matte, so it stays, it doesn't bleed, but it's not drying. I mean, it is my favorite.
It's a really good one. And do you think everybody can get away with wearing red lipstick?
Yes. So I remember when I worked at MAC, people would be like, I want a red, but not too red. And I was like, well, red is red. A lighter version of red is pink. They're like, but I don't want pink, I want red. And you're like, okay, so red is red. And it was just this, like, you know, roundabout. And I'm like, why don't you just sit down? Let's just put the red on you. And then something can really happen to people when you put that red lip or a bold lip, and they're like, oh. And And people, you know, I'd have customers that just would not stop looking at themselves because they were like, this is the best thing ever. So red, like, you know, other customers I say, or clients, I'll say just blot it on is one way to start, like ease yourself into it. So you could have like Ruby Woo, blot it on the bottom of your lip, press your lips together, put like a bit of lip conditioner or something, like more of a stain red, could be like an entry level to red.
I think that's a good idea. I think it feels like a big step. If you're more of a lip balm girl,
yes,
and then you suddenly wear red, you might feel like you look like the Joker, even though you look really good.
Yeah.
Have you had your lips done?
Yeah.
You see, again, maybe that's actually a good thing.
There you go. I see. Yes. So yeah, just blotting it on could be like, you know, the first couple of weeks of that, and then you can enhance it and keep going. But you got to.
So that's it. Don't try to do these soft. Like if you're going to go for it. It's hard to. You'll never get the effect, will you, unless you dip your toe in fully, by the sounds of it.
That's it.
And then in terms of your career, Mac sounds like a really great career where you must have been comfortable, confident, you'd progressed through the company. Was there a reason that made you take that big leap to working for yourself?
There were a couple of reasons. I wanted to start a family, and my job at Mac was very hectic. I loved it, don't get me wrong. But I always thought if I was to have a child, I don't want to be stressed about choosing times or just stressed in general. I wanted to do it on my terms, and it just, I think I was just at a point in my life where I was like, I've done this for a really long time. And like you said, I was super comfortable. The pay was good. Like everything was amazing, but I was like, I think I need a change. And 16 years is, you know, a long time. But I was like, if I work for myself, I can not pick and choose. I could pick and choose when I work, how many hours I work, without feeling like I'm letting the company down or my colleagues down or, you know, the other artists. Because that to me was another hard thing that I just didn't want to be like, oh, I'm letting them down. Or if I had a child, I'm letting them down. And I just didn't want that part.
So it was a very well-planned, well-considered approach, wasn't it? So you're almost looking at future Dalal and thinking, I'll make her life a bit easier when she's a mum. How kind of you.
I was like, well done, me. Now I look back and go, that was good. That was well done on that one.
Well, exactly, 16 years.
Yeah. And it was, like you said, it was comfortable. When I think about it, I was like, I knew what I was doing, you know, everything was just working for me. And I was like, but I think I want to do something else now. Still in makeup, obviously, but do it on my terms.
So what was the first step that you took to do that?
Writing the most gut-wrenching resignation letter to my boss, who is like still one of my closest friends now. She was just amazing. And as soon as she, I think, saw, or when I made the call to her, she was like, I know what's happening. So that was really hard, because writing it all down, you're like, oh, wow, it's real. It's not just a thought. And then planning the financial part of it, because that can be scary. So we had a mortgage on an apartment here in Melbourne. So I was like, okay, like, can I make the repayments? How many clients do I need to do a week to make this? So it came into all these calculations, because I wasn't in this, like, you know, well-paid job anymore, knowing exactly what I was getting monthly. It was like, oh, freelance, you actually don't know what's around the corner.
It sounds like it's quite planned as well, though. It sounds like your style is to make sure that it doesn't sound like you go into anything blindly.
No, that's so true. That is really true. I'm well organized in that respect, but going freelance, you still don't know exactly what's around the corner. So I had, you know, money saved up. I'm like, that will, you know, get us through until, you know, this picks up. But, you know, what if that didn't pick up? Like, there were so many other contributing factors. However, if I kept thinking about it, I would have done nothing about it.
That's very true, isn't it? So there came a point. Do you think there was a timing around child as well? Was there a specific time that made you think, right, okay, it's now or never?
Well, I was 37 when I fell pregnant and 38 when I had my daughter. And so she was 2 by the time I turned 40. So I left Mac a year later. I was pregnant with my daughter. So yeah, once you have a child, that you can't change anything about that either. They're there, they've got needs, you know, you just have to make that decision and just go for it.
So yeah, this sounds like this is what I'm getting from you, that you're very planned, and it's like, okay, well, I know, which sounds really helpful. You look into the future and you think, well, I want this to happen by then. To be in the right place for that to happen, then I need to be in this situation to make sure I can pay my bills and have the right kind of career. I need to be in that situation. So I'm sure you've reaped the rewards of that. But how were those first few years going freelance? Where did you get the income or the clients from initially?
So over my years at Mac, like I was saying, like I would do freelance a lot on the weekends, or like spring racing carnival. Like there's always something going on in Melbourne. So I always had a good catalog or a good following of clients. So as I was phasing out leaving Mac, like I let all my clients know I'll be, you know, full-time, like whatever you need, Monday to Monday, like midnight, whatever time. And then I was talking to them about lessons. So I would do group lessons or group workshops. So I'm like, you know, get, you know, 4 or 5 girlfriends together. We can do like a group lesson. So building up the business before I completely exited Mac, so I could transition into it a bit easier. It was hard, I'm not going to lie. Like it was hard. There were some weeks where I was like, oh, I've got no bookings this week, or okay, that's not going as planned. Did I make the right decision? But you'll never know until you just give it a go, really. And you just have to put yourself out there. And if things, you know, were tough, then I'll be like, okay, well, what else can I do? How can I advertise? I got my website up and running again, made sure it was all up to date and relevant. Emailing photographers, emailing beauty editors, like literally putting yourself back out there.
That's good advice, I suppose, at times when you're used to being with a team at Mac to then being on your own. You haven't got the energy of anybody else to bounce off, or do you know anybody else?
Well, I didn't know. So when I was at Mac, people know who you are because you've been there for so long, and you know, they're like, oh, that's Dalal, like she's done this, this, and this. You leave that space and people are like, I'm sorry, what have you done? Who have you worked with? Well, you know, I've never heard of you. And you're like, oh God, I feel like I'm the new kid on the block. I have all this experience, but no one in this realm knows me. So I remember saying to a couple of friends, I'm like, I feel like I'm starting again, but with all this experience. And that was frightening, but it's just how it is. So
that was at 37, starting again. You know, that is really impressive, but probably putting into place the things that had worked for you initially, which is doing what you love, following that. And it sounds like working with people as well.
Yeah, working with people, reconnecting with other makeup artists that I've worked with in the past, seeing what they're doing. You know, do I need to assist people? Like, what did I need to do to put, you know, the me there and then back into, you know, the actual industry outside of what I had known.
Great. That's really good advice for aspiring business people. Who do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And daring to go after it.
Yeah. And just having those conversations, like with, you know, fashion stylists or, you know, whoever, sliding into their DMs, emailing people. I used to like do every Monday or Wednesday, like get all these emails and be like, okay, you know, I'd love to work with you. And then I feel like for every 20 I put out, maybe 2 people responded. But, you know, you're trying. It's better than, you know, crying, sitting on the couch crying, going, oh, nothing's working out. You know, you have to keep trying.
And actually you value when one comes through so much, because you know, and I guess then you then really value a client and see the true value in them, in the sense that you're very important to me, and exactly. This isn't easy to get, and I'm going to do a good job. And then I imagine.
Yeah.
How did Adore Beauty and also Come Dance With Me come about then?
So Adore Beauty, okay, so during the pandemic, I was obviously out of work for most of 2020 and a bit of 2021. I can't remember. It's all actually a big blur. But obviously I couldn't do makeup because there were no events, there were no weddings. And the lady at HR got my details through someone who was working there. And she reached out to me and I was like, yeah, I would love to, like, that would be a dream. And I was like, I just need something casual though. I was so dead set on casual because I didn't want it to interfere with what I already had going on. But I had nothing going on because it was a pandemic, but you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to commit to a full-time job and then, 6 months later being like, oh no, I don't want to do that anymore. So we discussed a couple of options and I spoke to one of the beauty editors there, and she was like, well, do you want to, how about you write some articles for us or do some, product testing? And I was like, oh yeah, that is
right up my alley.
Yeah. So I've done a couple of articles for them over that time, and I love it. They're such a great company. The products are amazing. Again, I get to talk about products, and through them, like, obviously I've met you through the article I wrote, so you just never know where saying yes will take you.
Yeah, I love that. You'll have to give me some sneak previews about any articles that are coming up as well. And then what about getting a TV gig? I mean, now knowing that you did the fashion weeks, I suppose that element of pressure and performance is there. But how did you get into that and how did you find it?
That was just a blessing. So that was last year, and a fellow makeup artist who I used to just know, and he's traveled globally around the world. He's very amazing. He reached out to me again through Instagram, like, hey, what have you been doing? Haven't seen you in a while. What are you up to? Still doing makeup? And I was like, yeah, still doing makeup. He's like, I've got this show. So he was the head of makeup. So he was the makeup director. So he directed a lot of the looks. Would you be interested on working on it with me? I was like, yeah. Again, I just said yes before I knew too much. I was like, yeah. It's work, it's makeup, it's working with him. Like, it would be fun. And it was like a 10-week, like, couple of episodes a week for 10 weeks. And I worked on one of the main judges on that show. So me and the judge lady, we collaborated to create her looks. We had an amazing hair girl working with her as well. So it was just, every episode we did was, full on glam makeup. But again, stuff I love doing. I don't get to do it often, that kind of look. And then seeing it air, so it aired in the US in May this year, I think May, June on CBS, and just watching it on TV, I was like, oh.
Yeah, wow. I wonder what the audiences were for that. Do you know?
Pardon?
I wonder how many people viewed that, what the audience size was in the US.
I'm still in contact with the girl, like the judge that I was doing her makeup with. So we message every now and then. So I'm like, how are the ratings this week? So she's, sort of keeps me up to date on how it went. So hopefully there's a season 2. But that was so fun. That was just, again, when you say yes to things, sometimes you don't want to know all the details. Like, you just want to commit, say yes, and then figure the rest out later, because you just never know.
And what happens if a really bold look doesn't go to plan? Or do you get enough time to practice with each other, this collaboration?
There were some times where we were like, this might not be, right. And then when they did like not a sound check, like a dress rehearsal, and you'd see it like through the camera, I was like, I think we just need to tweak a couple of things just so it reads better and on the camera, and production's happy with it as well. So there's always time to make some adjustments.
I'm wondering if a makeup artist role is really to be a perfectionist then and notice it, because the person wearing it won't realize, will they? You do. And then it's even like when you're watching it on the screen, or even if I'm on a photo shoot and you're looking through the camera and you're like, oh, hang on, I've just got to get that. And they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, gotta. You'll not be happy with me.
I won't be happy with me unless I get it.
Never to enter the US again.
So a sharp eye and a bit of a perfectionist, I'd say, would be most makeup artists out there.
Interesting. If we wanted to have a look at these looks, what was the judge's name?
Oh, her name's Trisha Miranda.
Awesome. Let's have a look at that.
So she's the choreographer. She's choreographed for Beyonce, Nicki Minaj. Yeah. So she's,
oh my gosh, you can imagine whose DMs I'm going to be sliding into. It just got me drooling over all these stars.
Ideas.
Me and you on a plane to the US. Now, Fire and Forte is inspired, I suppose, by the fact that it's my 40th very, very soon. And I was inspired by a sense of inner peace, a sense of confidence, and yeah, probably a strength as well that was a lot braver than I'd personally ever felt before. And I thought, gosh, I actually feel like I'm brave enough to have fun doing the things that I enjoy doing,
Yes.
such as Fire and Forte, to be honest as well. I didn't think I would be, I haven't put it anywhere yet, but I didn't think I'd be bold enough to necessarily do it. I was wondering what 40 meant to you.
I love turning 40. So I love turning 30 because turning 30, just things felt right. Life was on track. Like I was really happy where I was. Like I was single. Like I was like, yes, I love 30. Like a lot of people like, I don't want to turn 30. And I'm like, it was the best things happened to me after 30. So as I was approaching 40, I was like, I mean, it's only going to get better, really. Like, and I have, got so many ideas, and I was happy with my family and home life. So I was like, I just, it wasn't something I was scared about. I was excited because, I know more about who I am. I'm comfortable with, where I'm at. I love what I'm doing. I still have dreams that I want to work towards. And you just get to 40 and you're like, you know what? I don't have time for all that BS stuff. And, I can say it now because I just don't, not that I don't care, but I'm just like, I just don't have time. And I'm okay with not having time for that.
So good. I think knowing what you love and doing what you love already and having dreams and ideas, they're two very powerful words, I think.
Yeah. And I just, every day or every week, I'm like, I'm doing what I want. And that to me is really like a comforting feeling, and happy with where I'm at.
Yeah, brilliant. And you've talked about having a child. Is it?
Yes.
You've got a daughter, is that right?
A daughter. Her name's Cairo. She's 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. A little cute 4-year-old. So you're busy with, they're not toddlers at 4, are they? She's a young girl.
No, I think they're like grown-ups actually at this point.
Okay. And how was the adjustment from single life, or not necessarily single life, but probably that independence that you had to becoming a mum?
Yeah, it's a real change. It's a real change. And I remember like me and my husband, we traveled a lot, we'd go out a lot, which we still do, but we're like, oh, hang on. Oh, the little one, we're like, oh God, like we've got to pack the bag. Like it was the hard transition was, you grab your keys and you're out the door pre-child. Then you have a child, which is just a blessing in itself. And then you're like, okay, keys, bag, nappy bag, what's the feeding time? Like there's this entourage of things that come with it. So I felt that was a transition for me. And taking on jobs, it wasn't just a matter of, oh yeah, my calendar's free. Yes. It was like, hang on, wait, what are you, like, husband, what are you doing this day? Or mum, what are you doing? Or my sister, like, where can I put, how can I navigate this with a small person that's just so important that needs you? And there were times which I just had to decline jobs, and I was fine with that because my priority was, and always will be, my daughter. But yeah, just knowing that you can't do everything all at the same time.
Did you develop new skills then, do you think, when you got used to that?
Yes. Multitasking, although my husband would say that I can't do more. Like he's like, can't you listen and do this and this at the same time? And I'm like, I am, but there's also so much other things going on in here. Like, multitasking, but I'm always thinking, like I'll always be thinking if I'm sitting on the couch, even if it's 9 o'clock at night, I'm like, okay, tomorrow's Kinder, so I've got to get up and like pack her lunch. And what does she have to take to Kinder? I think she has to take the library bag. Do I have a client tomorrow? What time's the client? So it's just like,
yeah,
because you're thinking for two, really, yourself and the small one.
Yeah, wow. And how do you sleep with that going on?
I sleep well, believe it or not, because I do all that thinking before bedtime. So I'll, we'll have dinner, might have a glass of wine, and then I'll just go through my phone, make sure everything's organized, and then be like, okay, phone's down, brain off, put on a movie or something, and now it's just relaxing time, with the husband, and just making sure you have time for those that are important to you as well.
Yeah. Is there a day in the week that is your family day?
Oh, when we're not all work, like whenever we can. It would maybe be like a Sunday afternoon. Sounds cliche, but Sunday, or even like a Tuesday morning where there's no kinder and maybe neither of us have to work that morning.
Yeah, so, good.
Yeah, we just got to make it work when we can.
Yeah, lovely. And Sundays are that really nice time, aren't they? We can actually almost do nothing, but doing it together.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very relaxed, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about time for you then? What really helps you? Because it does sound like you've got, especially being freelance, you're not in those regular hours. Yeah. So what works for you, do you find?
So now that my daughter's at kinder, she's there all day Fridays. So when she started, I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe Fridays can be my day, or like the morning of a Friday, so I can drop her off and then I'll go do something for myself, or I won't book any work in that day, knowing I'll work Saturday and Sunday doing makeup jobs. So I try and do schedule that time for me, if it's a Friday morning, or if it's even going to like a Pilates class at 6 a.m. is still me time, and I get home before she's even awake and I feel amazing and I've done exercise. So finding those little pockets of time for yourself is essential, but you make it, I make it work.
Yeah. So Pilates, is that something that is an obsession?
Well, it's recently started, and now that I've just come back from holidays, I need to get back into it. So it was it's been a couple of months, and they do like early morning classes, which I totally appreciate, because I can exercise best in the morning. I'm not a late night exercise person. By the time it's 4 or 5 o'clock, there's no exercise done for me. I get up early and I do it, and I love it because I feel so energized in the morning.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I love a bit of a morning exercise. This morning, I thought, no, I won't. I'll just kind of get some work done. And then just before my first meeting, I went out for this really quick run.
Yeah.
Thinking no one will be able to see what I'm wearing underneath this. But it's just so, I think it's good for your brain and your, like you said, it's done then, isn't it? You can tick it off the list. Yeah.
And you feel better. It's a really good way to start the day, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's a mental health thing and efficiency thing, isn't it? Exactly. Now, you mentioned your dreams, and again, I think there's something about 40 and turning 30, maybe turning 50 as well, where you look ahead and almost think, wow, it's been a really interesting decade. What's going to happen next? Yeah. And when you talked about dreams, I wondered what your ideal decade looks like next.
Oh, more travel. Like, I feel like we're so lucky to be back to traveling again, and we just did a family trip to the US. We got back last Saturday, so just being out and about, seeing the world again was super exciting. So we're already talking about hopefully a trip to Europe sometime next year. So continuing traveling, continuing my daughter to have those experiences traveling the world and seeing different parts of the world and how other people live is such a great form of education, I think. In terms of, myself, finding things that make me happy, sticking to it, getting rid of the things that don't make me happy, or the things I just don't have time for, that I don't need to bother with, and continuing to grow my business, meeting people like you and engaging and interacting with, yourself, and, watching you grow and develop in, this amazing idea that you have as well. So continuing to inspire other people in our industries as well.
Amazing. I think this is not the last that we're going to see of you.
I know.
This is so exciting. Like I said, there is a connection there to Beyonce and Nicki Minaj. So shall we put that into the universe?
Yes.
Should we send them this video?
Yes.
And say we think you'd be great for a chat over Zoom.
Yeah.
Or maybe
you're free.
Yeah. You're free this Saturday. And if not, we could practice some dance moves and be their backing dancers. Your daughter maybe like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Naturally, we'll be there. Yes.
There you go. Dream big, dream
Yeah,
big. I just want to thank you so much for spending the time to talk to us about yourself and beauty tips. Like I said, I've got actually a long list of questions for myself, and that I think listeners would be keen to know as well. So
Yes.
how do you feel about doing a bit of a follow-up article for us, maybe on lips? Yeah.
Yes. Like, yeah, because we're talking about how good a quick lippy can just change your mood. So yeah, absolutely. Let's make that happen.
Okay, that's a deal. Thank you so much, Dalal. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you. Have a good evening too. We'll chat soon.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.